One early morning in Portland, a single father running a food truck passed over a well-dressed woman in line to serve an elderly regular first. The woman did not complain. She just watched him, then leaned closer and whispered, "Do you remember me?" The man froze. He did not remember. But she did. A cold afternoon years ago. A hungry boy. A meal split in half. A memory that never faded. So who was she really? The food truck sat at the corner of Morrison and 3rd, where the morning light came in flat and gray over the Willamette River. The sign above the window read, "Mercy's Kitchen," in hand-painted letters that had begun to chip at the edges. Inside, Marcus wiped down the counter with a rag that smelled faintly of bleach and grease. His hands moved without thinking. He had done this every morning for 3 years. Behind him, his daughter crouched near a plastic crate sorting paper cups by size. She hummed something under her breath. Marcus glanced back at her and felt the tightness in his chest ease slightly. She had his dark hair and her mother's quiet focus. She never complained about the early mornings or the smell of fryer oil that clung to everything they owned. "Mercy, you got those napkins stacked yet?" Marcus called over his shoulder. The girl looked up. "Almost, Dad." She was 7 years old. She knew how to count change and how to smile at strangers, even when she was tired. Marcus had taught her those things because he had no choice. There was no one else to teach her. The first customers began to arrive just after 6:30. Most of them were regulars. A construction worker named Ray, who always ordered the breakfast burrito. A nurse from the hospital 2 blocks over, who drank her coffee black. Marcus knew their faces better than he knew his own reflection. He knew Ray took his burrito with extra hot sauce. He knew the nurse worked night shifts and needed the caffeine to stay awake on her drive home. These small details mattered to Marcus. They were the threads that held his life together. Then the line started to build. Marcus moved quickly. Flipping eggs on the griddle, wrapping sandwiches in foil, handing out paper bags with receipts stapled to the top. Mercy stood beside him on a step stool, refilling napkin dispensers and wiping up spills. She did not ask for breaks. She had learned early that the truck only made money when they kept moving. At 7:15, a woman said to her, stepped into line. Marcus noticed her because she did not look like the others. She wore a long coat that probably cost more than his rent. Her hair was pulled back in a way that looked deliberate. She held herself like someone who had never waited for anything in her life. Her shoes were clean, no scuff marks, no wear at the heels. Marcus had learned to read people by their shoes. Marcus did not pay her much attention. He had 3 orders ahead of her, and Ray was waving a $5 bill, asking if Marcus could break it for the vending machine down the street. Marcus told him to hold on. Then he saw Helen. The older woman stood near the back of the line, leaning heavily on her cane. Her face looked pale. She had been in the hospital for 2 weeks. Marcus had not seen her since. She caught his eye and gave a small, tired smile. Marcus knew she lived alone. He knew she had no one to cook for her. Marcus made a decision without thinking. He turned to the woman in the expensive coat. "Ma'am, I need to take care of someone real quick. You mind waiting just a minute?" The woman blinked. She studied him. Then Helen, then back at him. She did not say anything. She just stepped aside. Marcus moved down the line and motioned Helen forward. Mercy noticed and climbed down from her stool. She walked over to Helen and took her free hand. "Hi, Miss Helen," Mercy said brightly. "Did you get better?" Helen smiled and touched the girl's cheek. "I'm getting there, sweetheart." Marcus handed her a breakfast sandwich and a cup of tea. "On the house today. You need to eat before you take your meds, right?" Helen's eyes welled up slightly. She nodded and did not argue. Marcus helped her to one of the 2 plastic chairs he kept near the truck. Mercy brought her extra napkins without being asked. She also brought a small packet of honey for the tea. Helen took it with shaking hands. When Marcus returned to the window, the woman in the coat was still standing there. She had not moved. She was watching Mercy. Her expression was unreadable, not annoyed, not impatient. Something else entirely. "Sorry about that," Marcus said. "What can I get you?" The woman met his gaze for a long moment. Then she said, "Just coffee. Black." Marcus poured it and handed it over. She paid with exact change and walked away without another word. He watched her go, then forgot about her entirely. But she came back the next day, and the day after that. Each time she stood at the back of the line. She never complained. She never tried to push ahead. She always ordered the same thing. Coffee, black. She would take it, stand off to the side, and observe. Not the traffic. Not her phone. She watched Mercy. Mercy noticed her on the third day. The girl came up to Marcus while he was scraping the griddle and tugged on his sleeve. "Dad, that lady keeps coming back," Mercy whispered. Marcus glanced over. The woman was standing near the corner, sipping her coffee slowly. She looked out of place. Too clean. Too still. "She's just a customer, baby," Marcus said quietly. "Don't stare." But Mercy did not listen. On the fourth day, when the woman came to pick up her coffee, Mercy smiled at her. "How you come here a lot now?" Mercy said. The woman studied her. For a second, her expression softened. "I do." "Do you like the coffee?" The woman tilted her head slightly. "I like watching you help your dad." Mercy beamed. "I help every day. Dad says I'm really good at it." Marcus stepped forward, wiping his hands on his apron. Mercy let the lady get her coffee. The woman met his eyes. There was something in her gaze that Marcus could not name. Not judgment, not pity. Something else. Something that felt like recognition. She left without saying anything more. That night, Mercy sat in the back of the truck while Marcus locked up. She was drawing on the back of a receipt with a pen she had found under the seat. "Dad, do you think that lady is lonely?" Mercy asked suddenly. Marcus turned to her. "Why would you say that?" Mercy shrugged. "She doesn't talk to anyone. She just stands there, and she looks sad." The question caught Marcus off guard. He climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine. Mercy buckled herself in and went back to her drawing. But Marcus thought about it. The woman did look sad, and she kept coming back. There had to be a reason. People did not return to the same place every day for coffee they could get anywhere. They came back for something else. Something they could not name. On Friday, she did not show up. Marcus noticed immediately. He scanned the line twice, expecting to see her standing at the back, but she was not there. He told himself it did not matter. She was just another customer. Portland was full of people who drifted in and out of routines. But Mercy noticed too. "Where's the coffee lady?" she asked, looking around. Marcus shrugged. "Maybe she got busy." Mercy frowned. But she came every day. Marcus handed an order to a man in a suit and turned back to the griddle. He tried not to think about why a stranger's absence bothered him. He had enough to worry about. But that night, lying in the narrow bed in their studio apartment, Marcus stared at the ceiling and thought about the way the woman had studied Mercy. Not with the polite distance most strangers used. With something deeper. Recognition, maybe. Or longing. He told himself to let it go. But the next Monday, she came back. Marcus was in the middle of pouring batter onto the griddle when he heard Mercy's voice rise above the usual noise. "You're back." Marcus turned. The woman stood at the window holding a small box wrapped in brown paper. Mercy was grinning up at her. The woman held out the box. "I noticed you draw on napkins sometimes. I thought you might like this." Mercy took the box carefully and opened it. Inside was a set of colored pencils and a small sketchbook. Her eyes went wide. "For me?" The woman nodded. "For you." Mercy glanced at Marcus, her face lit up with excitement. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. He stepped forward. "That's really kind of you, ma'am. But you didn't have to do that," Marcus said evenly. The woman met his gaze. "I wanted to." Mercy clutched the box to her chest. "Thank you so much. I'm going to draw you a picture." The woman smiled faintly. Then she studied Marcus again, and the smile faded. She seemed to be waiting for something. When he did not say anything, she turned and walked away. Marcus watched her go. His hands felt cold. He did not know this woman. He did not know why she kept coming back. And now she was giving his daughter gifts. That night, after Mercy had gone to bed, Marcus sat at the small table in their apartment and pulled out his old laptop. He thought about the woman's face and then typed a different set of words into the search bar. "Wealthy woman, Portland." He scrolled through images. Real estate, charity galas, business profiles. Then he saw her, Elena Hartfield, 28 years old, CEO of Hartfield Properties, Forbes 30 under 30, net worth estimated at over $80 million. Marcus closed the laptop. He sat in the dark and listened to Mercy breathing softly in the other room. She had fallen asleep holding the sketchbook. Marcus had not taken it away from her. He thought about the distance between his life and the life of someone like Elena Hartfield. He thought about what happened when people from different worlds tried to exist in the same space. He had seen it before. It always ended badly. But when he saw Mercy's drawing taped to the wall, the one she had made that evening of 3 stick figures holding hands, he felt something crack open inside his chest. Marcus had no idea what Elena Hartfield wanted. But he knew one thing. She had gotten too close. And now Mercy was attached. Marcus put his head in his hands and tried to decide what to do. Marcus decided to keep his distance. He did not tell Elena to stop coming. He did not take the sketchbook away from Mercy. He just made sure he stayed behind the counter and kept conversations short. Professional. Nothing more. But Elena kept coming back, every morning at 7:15, always the same order, always standing at the back of the line. And Mercy kept talking to her. On Tuesday, Mercy showed Elena a drawing she had made of a bird. Elena crouched down to examine it closely and told Mercy the shading was beautiful. Mercy glowed. Marcus watched from the griddle and said nothing. On Wednesday it rained. Heavy, cold rain that turned the street slick and sent most people running for cover. The line at the truck thinned to almost nothing. Marcus was about to close early when he saw Elena standing under the awning of a closed bookstore across the street. She was soaked. Her coat hung heavy with water. Mercy saw her too. She tugged on Marcus's sleeve. "Dad, she's just standing there." Marcus glanced over. Elena was not looking at the truck. She was staring at the ground arms wrapped around herself. She looked small. Smaller than she should have looked for someone who owned half the buildings in downtown Portland. Mercy opened the side door of the truck and called out, "You can wait in here if you want." Marcus shot his daughter a look, but it was too late. Elena glanced up. She hesitated, then crossed the street. When she reached the truck, Marcus handed her a towel. "You'll catch something standing out there like that," Marcus said flatly. Elena took the towel and dried her face. "Thank you." She climbed into the truck and sat on the small bench near the back. Mercy handed her a cup of hot chocolate without asking. Elena took it with both hands and held it close to her chest. Her fingers were pale from the cold. Marcus turned back to the griddle, but he could feel her presence behind him. The truck suddenly felt smaller. He focused on wiping down surfaces that were already clean. Mercy sat next to Elena and chattered about school, about a boy who had stolen her eraser, about a math test she was nervous about. Elena listened. She asked questions. She did not talk down to Mercy the way most adults did. The rain did not let up. After 20 minutes, Marcus realized no more customers were coming. He shut off the burners and locked the cash drawer. When he turned around, Mercy had fallen asleep against Elena's shoulder. Elena was holding her carefully, one arm around the girl to keep her from sliding off the bench. Marcus felt something catch in his chest. He moved forward and lifted Mercy gently. She stirred, but did not wake. He carried her to the front seat and buckled her in. When he came back, Elena was standing. She had folded the towel and placed it on the bench. "I should go," Elena said quietly. Marcus nodded, but then he observed her, really observed her, and saw that her hands were shaking. Not from the cold, from something else. "You okay?" Marcus asked. Elena stared down. "I'm fine." She was lying. Marcus could tell. He did not push. He opened the door for her and watched her step out into the rain. She walked away quickly, head down, and disappeared around the corner. That night, Marcus could not sleep. He kept thinking about the way Elena had held Mercy, carefully, like she was afraid to break something precious, and he thought about the way she had appeared when she left. Lost. The next morning, Elena did not come. Marcus told himself it was for the best, but Mercy asked about her twice. Marcus made up an excuse about her being busy. Mercy did not look convinced. On Friday, Elena returned. She looked tired. There were faint circles under her eyes. She ordered her coffee and stepped aside, but this time she did not leave. She stood near the truck and waited. When the line cleared, she approached the window. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Elena asked. Marcus glanced at Mercy, who was counting napkins in the back. He stepped outside and closed the door behind him. Elena faced him directly. Her voice was steady but quiet. "I know you don't know me. I know this probably looks strange, but I need to tell you something." Marcus crossed his arms. "I'm listening." Elena took a breath. "Do you remember me?" Marcus frowned. "Should I?" Elena's eyes searched his face. 2008, Chicago, St. Mary's. The words hit Marcus like cold water. He went still. St. Mary's, the group home. He had lived there for 2 years after his mother died. He had been 12, maybe 13. The memory was dim and gray, buried under years of trying to forget. Elena kept talking, her voice softer now. "You were skinny. You wore a jacket that was too big for you. It was snowing. I was sitting outside on the steps because I didn't want to go back inside. You came out and sat next to me. You didn't say anything at first. Then you pulled out half a sandwich and gave it to me." Marcus stared at her. The memory surfaced slowly. A girl, small, shivering. He remembered thinking she looked worse off than he did. Her lips had been blue. Her hands had been shaking so badly she could barely hold the food. "I hadn't eaten in 2 days," Elena continued. "The older kids had taken my lunch. You gave me your food and told me it would be okay, that we'd figure it out." Marcus felt his chest grow tight. He remembered now. The girl had not said thank you. She had just eaten the sandwich and cried quietly. He had not known what to do, so he sat with her until she stopped. Then he had walked her back inside and made sure she got to her room safely. "I never forgot that," Elena said. "You probably don't even remember, but I do. That was the first time anyone treated me like I mattered." Marcus struggled to find words. He stared at the ground, then back at her. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. Elena's voice broke slightly. "Because I didn't think you'd remember, and I wasn't sure I wanted you to. But then I saw you with Mercy, and I saw the way you treat people, and I realized something. You're still the same person. You still give what you have, even when you don't have much." Marcus shook his head slowly. That was a long time ago. Not for me, Elena said. For me it was yesterday. She turned to leave, but Marcus reached out and caught her arm gently. Wait. Elena stopped. She met his gaze, and for the first time Marcus saw her clearly. Not as a stranger, not as someone from a different world, as the scared kid sitting on those steps 17 years ago. You didn't have to tell me that, Marcus said quietly. Elena's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. Yes, I did, because I wanted you to know why I keep coming back. It's not about the coffee. It's about Mercy. She reminds me of who I used to be, and you remind me that people like you still exist. She pulled her arm free gently and walked away. Marcus stood there for a long time watching the street. When he finally went back inside, Mercy glanced up at him. Was that lady crying? Mercy asked. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah, baby, I think she was. Mercy frowned. Why? Marcus crouched down so he was eye level with his daughter. Sometimes people cry because they're remembering something important. Mercy thought about that, then nodded. She went back to her drawing. Marcus watched her for a moment, then turned back to the window. But his hands were shaking now. The weekend passed quietly. Marcus thought about Elena constantly. He thought about the sandwich. He thought about the way she had studied Mercy. He thought about the fact that she had found him after all these years and had not asked for anything. She had just wanted to be near something that felt safe. On Monday, Elena came back. This time she brought Mercy a small bed of watercolor paints. Mercy hugged her without hesitation. Marcus observed from the counter and felt something shift inside him. He was still scared, still unsure. But he was tired of running from things that might be good. That afternoon, a man with a camera showed up. He took pictures of the truck from across the street. Marcus did not think much of it at first. Tourists did that sometimes. But then the man approached Elena as she was leaving and started asking questions. Marcus could not hear what was said, but he saw Elena's face go pale. She shook her head and walked away quickly. The man followed her for half a block, still calling out questions before giving up. Marcus forgot about it until the next morning when Ray handed him a newspaper. You see this? Ray asked, grinning. Marcus examined the paper. The headline read, Hartfield heiress spotted at local food truck romance or charity case. There was a photo of Elena standing at the window holding a coffee cup. Mercy was visible in the background smiling at her. The article speculated about why a billionaire was spending time at a struggling food truck in southeast Portland. It mentioned Marcus by name. It mentioned Mercy. It described their one-bedroom apartment. It questioned Elena's motives. The tone was mocking. Marcus felt his blood go cold. By midday, the truck was swarmed. Not with regular customers, with people holding phones taking pictures asking questions. A woman asked Marcus if Elena was funding his business. A man asked if they were dating. Someone asked how much Elena had given him. Another person asked if Mercy was being used as a sympathy prop. Marcus shut the window and locked the door. Mercy stood behind him, confused and frightened by the noise outside. Dad, what's happening? She asked. Marcus knelt down and held her shoulders. It's okay, baby. We're just going to stay inside for a bit. But it was not okay. By the end of the day, Marcus had received 3 phone calls. One from a reporter, one from a lawyer representing the Hartfield family, asking him to refrain from making public comments. One from Helen, who had seen the article and was calling to check on him. That night, Marcus sat in the truck after closing and stared at the locked cash drawer. He thought about the way people had observed him today. Not like a hard-working father, like someone trying to take advantage of a rich woman, like someone who did not deserve to be in her world. He thought about Mercy, about the questions she would face at school, about the way people would treat her differently now, about the kids who would tease her, the parents who would whisper. He made a decision. The next morning, Marcus called the landlord who owned the parking spot where he parked the truck. He told him he needed to take a week off for repairs. It was a lie. The truck was fine. But Marcus could not face another day of cameras and questions. He could not face Elena knowing that being near her was going to ruin everything he had built. He texted Elena from a number he had gotten from the credit card receipt she had signed once. The message was short. "I think it's better if you don't come around anymore. I'm sorry." He did not wait for a response. He turned off his phone and focused on Mercy, who was sitting on the couch drawing in her sketchbook. She had drawn the three of them again: Marcus, herself, and Elena. "Dad, when is the truck opening again?" Mercy asked. Marcus sat down next to her. "Soon, baby." "Is the coffee lady gonna come back?" Marcus felt something close in his throat. He put his arm around Mercy and pulled her close. "I don't know," he said quietly. Mercy studied him. "Did we do something wrong?" Marcus shook his head quickly. "No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong. You were perfect." But Mercy did not look convinced. She went back to her drawing, but her hand moved slower now. Marcus watched her and felt something break inside him. That night, Mercy asked the question again. "Dad, why isn't she coming back?" Marcus had no answer. He tucked Mercy into bed and sat in the dark living room staring at nothing. His phone was still off. He did not want to see if Elena had responded. He did not want to know if she was hurt, or angry, or relieved. He told himself he was protecting Mercy. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was protecting himself. Because if he let Elena in, if he let himself believe that someone from her world could care about someone from his, and it fell apart, he would not survive it, and neither would Mercy. But as he sat there in the silence, Marcus realized something else. Mercy had already let Elena in, and now Marcus had taken her away, not to protect Mercy, to protect himself. He put his head in his hands and finally let himself cry. The truck stayed closed for 5 days. Marcus told Mercy it was for repairs, but she knew better. She stopped asking questions after the second day. She just sat in their small apartment and drew pictures that she did not show him. On the 5th night, Marcus could not sleep. He got up and walked to the kitchen table where Mercy had left her sketchbook. He opened it carefully. Page after page showed the same thing. 3 figures: a man, a girl, and a woman. Sometimes they were holding hands. Sometimes they were standing in front of the truck. Sometimes they were just sitting together. The last drawing was different. It showed only 2 figures: the man and the girl. The space where the woman should have been was empty. Underneath, in Mercy's careful handwriting, were the words, "I miss her." Marcus closed the book and sat in the dark. He thought about the text he had sent Elena. He thought about the way Mercy's smile had faded over the past week. He thought about the lesson he was teaching his daughter. That when things got hard, you ran. That when people got too close, you pushed them away. That love was something you could not afford. He picked up his phone and turned it on for the first time in days. There were messages, voicemails, emails. He ignored most of them. But there was one text from Elena sent 3 days ago. "I understand. I'm sorry I made things harder for you. But please tell Mercy I didn't leave because of her. She deserves to know that." Marcus read it twice, then put the phone down and went back to bed. But he did not sleep. The next morning, Mercy got ready for school without being told. She packed her lunch, brushed her teeth, and put on her shoes. Marcus drove her in silence. When they pulled up to the school, Mercy opened the door, but did not get out right away. "Dad, can I ask you something?" Mercy said quietly. Marcus turned to face her. Of course, baby. Did the coffee lady leave because of me? Marcus felt his chest go tight. He reached over and took Mercy's hand. No, she didn't leave because of you. She left because I asked her to. Mercy stared at him with wide eyes. Why? Marcus struggled to explain it in a way that would make sense to a 7-year-old. He could not explain that he was scared, that he did not believe someone like Elena could stay in their lives without everything falling apart. Because I was trying to protect you, Marcus said finally. Mercy frowned. From what? The answer escaped him. Mercy waited for a moment, then pulled her hand free and got out of the car. She walked toward the school without looking back. Marcus watched her go and felt something break open inside him. He drove back to the apartment and sat at the kitchen table. He opened Mercy's sketchbook again and stared at the empty space in the last drawing. Then he picked up his phone and called the landlord. He told him the truck would reopen the next day. But that night, Marcus lay awake and thought about what he would say if Elena came back. He thought about whether she would even want to come back. He had pushed her away. He had told her to stay out of their lives. Why would she forgive that? The next morning, Marcus opened the truck at 6. Mercy helped him set up without speaking much. She moved through the routine mechanically, her face blank. Marcus wanted to say something, but the words would not come. The regulars came back. Ray ordered his burrito and asked where Marcus had been. Marcus said he had been dealing with some personal things. Ray did not push. Helen came by and hugged Mercy and told her she looked too serious for a little girl. Mercy tried to smile, but could not hold it. Elena did not come. Marcus told himself it was what he expected. He told himself it was better this way. But every time someone stepped up to the window, he glanced past them, searching for her face. By the end of the week, Marcus had accepted it. Elena was not coming back. He had made his choice, and now he had to live with it. Then, on Monday afternoon, Mercy came home from school and grabbed Marcus's hand. "Dad, you have to come see something," Mercy said. Her voice bright for the first time in days. Marcus followed her outside. They walked 3 blocks to Mercy's school. When they reached the building, Mercy pointed through the window of the art room. Inside, a woman stood at the front of the class, helping a group of kids mix paints. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. It was Elena. Marcus stared. Mercy tugged on his hand. "She's teaching art now," Mercy said excitedly. "She came last week. She said she's going to be here every Monday and Wednesday." Marcus felt something rise in his throat. He watched Elena crouch down next to a small boy and show him how to hold the brush. She smiled at the kid, patient and kind, and Marcus realized something. She had not come back to the truck. She had come back to Mercy. "Can we go say hi?" Mercy asked. Marcus nodded slowly. They walked inside and stood at the door of the art room. Elena glanced up and saw them. Her smile faltered for just a moment. Then she stood and walked over. "Hi, Mercy," Elena said softly. Mercy ran forward and hugged her. Elena held her carefully, her eyes closing for just a second. When she let go, she met Marcus's gaze. "I didn't mean to intrude," Elena said. "The school needed a volunteer art teacher. I thought it might be a way to stay close without making things harder for you." Marcus shook his head. "You're not intruding." Elena studied him carefully. "Are you sure?" Marcus glanced at Mercy, who was watching them both with hopeful eyes. Then he turned back to Elena. "Can we talk?" Marcus asked. Elena nodded. She told the kids she would be right back and followed Marcus into the hallway. Mercy stayed in the art room pretending to be interested in the paintings on the wall, but clearly listening. Marcus stood with his back against the lockers and faced Elena. She looked tired, older, like the past 2 weeks had worn her down. "I'm sorry," Marcus said quietly. "I shouldn't have pushed you away." Elena shook her head. "You were protecting Mercy. I understand that." "No," Marcus said firmly. "I wasn't protecting her. I was protecting myself. I was scared that if I let you in and things fell apart, I wouldn't be able to handle it. And I didn't think about what that would do to her." Elena's eyes softened. "Marcus, I'm not here to make things complicated. I'm not here because I expect anything from you. I'm here because I care about Mercy, and because being around both of you reminds me of something I thought I'd lost." "What's that?" Marcus asked. Elena stared down at her hands. "That people can still be good. That kindness isn't something you trade. That some things are worth fighting for, even when they're hard." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. He thought about the sandwich, about the girl on the steps, about the way Elena had held Mercy in the truck during the rainstorm. She had not been looking for something from him. She had just been looking for a place to belong. "I don't have much to offer," Marcus said quietly. "I've got a food truck and a kid and a one-bedroom apartment that smells like fryer oil. That's it." Elena met his gaze, her eyes steady. "That's enough. It's always been enough." Marcus swallowed hard. "I'm scared I'm going to mess this up." Elena smiled faintly. "So am I. But I'd rather try and fail than not try at all." Marcus nodded slowly. He glanced through the doorway at Mercy, who was now openly staring at them. He gestured for her to come over. She ran into the hallway and stopped between them, studying both of their faces. "Are you guys okay now?" Mercy asked. Marcus crouched down and met his daughter's eyes. "Yeah, baby. We're okay." Mercy grinned and threw her arms around his neck. Then she grabbed Elena's hand and pulled her into the hug. Elena let out a surprised laugh and wrapped her arms around both of them. When they pulled apart, Mercy observed Elena seriously. "Are you going to come back to the truck?" Mercy asked. Elena glanced at Marcus. He nodded. "Yeah," Elena said softly. "I'll come back." Mercy beamed. "Good, because I made you a picture and I want to give it to you." 3 months later, the truck sat in the same spot on Morrison and 3rd. The sign above the window still read Mercy's Kitchen, but now there was a second line underneath in fresh paint, featuring Elena's special. Elena had not moved into Marcus's apartment. She had bought a small house 6 blocks away, close enough to walk, but far enough to give everyone space. Mercy stayed there on weekends sometimes. Elena had set up a room for her with an easel and paints, and a bed that Mercy said was the softest thing she had ever slept on. The walls were painted pale yellow. There were curtains with stars on them. Marcus still ran the truck. Elena still came every morning at 7:15. But now she stayed. She helped with orders during the rush. She refilled napkins. She made Mercy laugh when the morning got too stressful. The regulars got used to her. Ray started calling her by name. Helen told Marcus he was lucky, and he should not mess it up. Marcus agreed. One Saturday afternoon after the truck had closed, Mercy taped a new drawing to the wall inside. It showed 3 people standing in front of the truck holding hands. Underneath, she had written in careful letters, "My family doesn't have to be big. It just has to be full of love." Marcus stood studying the drawing for a long time. Elena came up beside him and slipped her hand into his. He squeezed it gently. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. Elena turned to him. "For what?" "For remembering," Marcus said, "and for coming back." Elena leaned her head against his shoulder. "Thank you for teaching Mercy to believe in people, and for letting me be part of this." Mercy climbed into the truck and sat on the bench, swinging her legs. She observed both of them and smiled. "Can we get ice cream?" Mercy asked. Marcus laughed. "Yeah, baby. We can get ice cream." They locked up the truck and walked down the street together. The city moved around them, busy and loud and indifferent. But for the first time in a long time, Marcus felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. And when Mercy reached up and took both their hands, pulling them forward with a laugh, Marcus realized something. Sometimes the person you saved years ago comes back not to repay a debt, but to remind you that you deserve to be saved too.